All children are different. Teaching a mixed ability classroom is hard work for sure, but differentiation in the classroom can support all of your learners to reach their full potential. Let's look at some real life examples from teachers who've done it themselves. Mrs. Green is an English teacher who has a class of 30 students, and they're all very different. On their last assessment, their reading levels spread from the age of 8 to 15 years. Their spoken words spread from the ages of 6 to 17, and their written language grades ranged from 8 to 15 years. As you can see from this graph, no two students have the same grades for each area. Sounds familiar? Mrs. Green needs to think about a range of abilities, strengths and needs in her classrooms to support the learning of all of her students, and to ensure that her class is one where she holds high expectations for all her children. Here are some tips for what she could do. Tip 1. Tiered tasks. If Mrs. Green hands out a task, there's no way that everyone will finish it at the same time, which is okay. She adds extension tasks, knowing that around half the class will get onto the first extension task, but having a second extension task to push those that are able to. For example, task 1 is for all students to complete the crossword. This will take some students 15 minutes, whilst others only 5 minutes. Below the crossword, Mrs. Green adds the task, write a descriptive paragraph describing your favourite meal using as many of these words as you can. Below this, there is a second extension task, to write a paragraph describing one part of your meal in more detail, circling any of your own adjectives. What do you notice about these tasks? Each task gets harder to suit the learning level of the students in this task. With tiered tasks for the full 15 minutes, all students will be doing something. The stretch option is also available for all students, which leaves this open for anybody to have a go and push themselves. Tip 2. Scaffolding. Some students in the class struggle to engage with reading and writing tasks and need support to make the work accessible. For these students, scaffolding will be important. Scaffolding, you do know, is a temporary structure used to aid in the construction of buildings. Well, teachers can use temporary scaffolds to support their students' learning when they need some different support. If we look back at the crossword from before, for some students, Mrs. Green can add some extra clues, such as including the first letter of the word or the first few letters of the word that they're looking for, depending on the student's reading level. Or, if the students are writing paragraphs, for example, Mrs. Green can give out some sentence starters to those that need some support starting and structuring their ideas. The important thing here is to make sure that you give out the correct sheets to the right people. And a tip, which I've done myself, is to keep the scaffolded worksheets at the bottom of the pile, so that when you reach a student who needs one of those worksheets, you can pull from the bottom and you can get the worksheets handed out quickly and efficiently. Tip 3. Group working. Group work is a great way to work with mixed ability or mixed learning styles. By grouping people with others, you can set differentiated tasks tailored to their needs. For example, in Mrs. Green's class, all groups are expected to together write one paragraph of their essay. However, those at a higher writing level and anyone who wants to push themselves must write at least 3 paragraphs, using some high-level words they've learnt, whilst those who need more support are given a scaffolded sheet with sentence starters to help with their paragraph construction and to make the task of writing this paragraph more accessible to them. You can take this a step further by having some groups write out their paragraphs, whilst others prepare a spoken presentation, while others draw out their main points in a storyboard and write notes afterwards. By differentiating in this way, all students are given a chance to succeed in your class. So there we have 3 tips. Why don't you try one of these out and see how it goes?